Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Nate Couser, owner of the Artist Exchange Media Hub, as well as VashtiBlue Jewelry Studio, sponsoring a night out at the theater with Soulmates, written, directed, and conceived by Troy Burton, as well as musical direction by Mr. Tevin Brown himself. Come on out and celebrate with us. Tickets are now on sale. It's my 41st birthday, and I want to celebrate it with you. Hit me up for tickets. See you there. Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up?
I was back here jamming.
Hello.
What is going on? This is our second show for 2024 on the Artist Exchange, and we'll be back full and in effect in March of 2024. I can't wait. It's been a little choppy throughout 2023, but I had to get some things together. I had to grow. I had to get used to this 40 thing. Like, how did I get here?
40 thing.
I was such a young, tender thing just a few minutes
Yes, you
ago.
are.
Thank you. I still am. Thank you.
Yes, you are.
So we have a great show for you all tonight. We have some of the cast or a cast member and the crew of Soulmates, a musical mixtape of just love and all that gushy stuff with the writer, the person who conceived all of this and put it all together, Troy Burton. We have Miss Lashelle, photographer extraordinaire, capturing all of the backstage foolishness that is going on, that is theater. We also have Eddie, this person, one of our castmates and singers for Soulmates, and then we have our dramaturge. This woman, if you don't recognize her, this is Mama Jaki Terry.
Yes.
And all of her glory, those cheeks. We're going to have a great conversation today, and we're going to really tap into the history of what we're doing and really tell you a little bit about what this project of Soulmates is. The music of Ashford and Simpson is called kind of an exploration of the stories that we gathered from listening to their music over the years, the music we know them from and the music we don't know them from, things that they've written, hits and songs that they've written for other people. But before we go any further, I want to just give a shout out to all the rest of the cast and crew and everybody that's bought some tickets. You saw the commercial that we have. This show runs through the 10th of May to the 27th of May. And we want you to come on out and get some tickets. I'm celebrating on real heavy on the 24th because that's my 41st birthday. And I would love to spend it in the theater with these lovely folks. So definitely get your tickets. I'll put the link in the description, as well as we'll send you out the link to be able to buy the tickets for the rest of the nights as well. But come on down on the 24th. That's when the party happened. And we got a DJ, thanks to Mr. Lonnie Walker and his organization sponsoring that night as well. So come on out and enjoy yourself. Get them tickets because they are going fast. So I'm gonna start with Mr. Troy Burton, our writer, producer, director. Writer, director in this case, but definitely a producer in his own right. Troy, why are we here tonight?
Well, we're here to, first of all, we're still celebrating African American History Month here.
Okay.
And we are here to put our toe in the water of something wonderful that's about to happen, at the Historic Arena Players. We're birthing a new production. And I normally like to take people along on the journey with me. So I want people to see what's happening behind the scenes, how the whole thing is coming together as we go through from sitting in a writer's room to going to rehearsals to the dress rehearsal, just to see the whole experience. But this is a historical thing because it is artists. We're celebrating artists, some of the greatest songwriters to ever walk this earth. Dick Ashford and Valerie Simpson.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes.
mm.
Yes.
It's such a great space to be in with history, with Black History Month. And I've been doing a quilt project with my students, and I chose music artists. And it's
Mm.
amazing. I'm teaching elementary school, and it's amazing that, some of the artists they don't know. They just it's not something that we are hearing at home as much. The parents are listening to the same music that the children are listening to. It is not it's foreign to me, that they don't know who some of these people like Ashford and Simpson are, because I grew up cleaning to this music and being able to really love it. And I grew up loving music. So the music that I had back here on my wall is the music that my grandmother played, that my great grandmother played, that my mother played. And it's a part of our history. And it's time that we push the history while we're still in a political climate where people are erasing us and
Yeah.
literally passing legislation in certain states in this country where they're avoiding us and erasing our history so their little babies don't get their feelings hurt about their grandparents and great grandparents.
Yeah.
So I love that. I'm gonna go over to our dramaturge, Miss Mama Jaki. Uh, uh, why this project? Why now for you?
Troy called. I could wax poetic. I could wax philosophic, but bottom line, Troy called. Troy calls is like, I know something's in the can, something's cooking, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to be a part of it.
Mm,
This was no exception. And it started actually with, I think it was kind of like a survey he took on Facebook about when you think of the music of Ashford and Simpson, what do you think of? And I
mm,
think I answered back the music company that they collaborated with, which is Hopsack and Silk. And
mm,
I think I mentioned that it was one of the greatest music teams that come out of Motown since Holland Dozier Holland. And I stand on that. So
mm,
after that, I'm like, Troy coming up with something. What we doing? So I came home last September and he already had the first draft of the script. So since then, it's gone through several drafts. But it's like, okay, let me walk me through
mm,
what's going on. And it ended up being a master's class on
mm.
Mhm.
him exploring his new wings as a writer. And
Yes.
me, basically like this is going somewhere. This is
Mm,
going somewhere. You got something. So yeah, let's flesh it out. Let's hear it. What's your concept? What are you doing? And how do we include the history? So Troy can tell you better than I can what was his motivation. But when
mm,
we got to the part where we started talking about, are we going to tell Ashford and Simpson's story, or are we going to tell stories that are inspired by the music of Ashford and Simpson? He opted for the latter out of respect for Ashford and Simpson. And I stand for that too,
mm.
because there's a certain part of their lives that need to remain to them.
Right.
And out of respect, okay. But let's not think for a second that their music did not influence a
Mm.
generation of folks. So yeah, so here we go again.
And I'm gonna piggyback on that. It's several generations because some of the music I showcase some of that music from certain artists like Ashford and Simpson, but I also played the remixed or the remade versions or the sampled versions that they knew and they didn't understand how this person created music that has been literally timeless because it's gone through several generations. And Ashford and Simpson music is no different. We know Shaka Khan, I'm Every Woman, but we know Whitney Houston, I'm Every Woman. And some diva at some point, some little young diva go remake that thinking that she the first one to do it. But it is definitely music and history infused. I love it. Miss Lashelle, I met you at Pearly when you're a young diva who is also an actress and beautiful singer.
Yes.
When we were in Pearly right before the pandemic. And Lashelle will be working on the exhibition outside of the show in the lobby of the show and putting together some great photos and memorabilia along with Troy of Ashford and Simpson and just some great photography from you. So tell me what your love and connection to this piece is as well. Miss Lachelle, you there? I think she's
I didn't
frozen.
hear what you said. What did you say?
So tell me
Yes,
your.
I'm here. I couldn't. You were going in and out.
Okay, tell us
I'm
what
here,
your.
but I couldn't hear what you said.
Okay, tell us what your.
Mm-hmm.
He's out again.
Out. Hooty hoot.
Well, I'll tell you what he said.
Tell you what.
He said, tell us your connection to the production in terms of
What did he say?
Nate, you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, go
Can
ahead.
y'all hear me?
We can hear you now. Go ahead, ask the question, Nate.
My
Tell us your
connection
connection to this
the
piece.
production. First of all, can you ask the question, Nate.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I was asking, what is your
My
connection
connection to the production is I love Ashford and Simpson.
Mm.
I can't
So
hear him.
can y'all hear me now?
We can hear you.
Can you hear
It's
me?
her, we can't hear her.
Hello.
Okay.
I can't
So we're gonna come back to you. Okay, we're gonna come back to you.
I don't know.
We also have.
Okay. My
We also
connection
have
to the
Eddie.
production is
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm good.
Okay.
I just still didn't hear what you said when what you asked me. So I don't know.
Okay. So give us a second. I'm gonna come back to you. Maybe the connection is a little wonky, but
Okay.
Eddie is one of our actors and singers in the piece. Can you tell us your connection with Soulmates and the Ashford and Simpson catalog?
Oh, man, if I started, we would be here for a long time. A lot of that music, for me, particular with some songs in particular, were life changing for me in respect of, like, for instance, I'm coming out. That was my theme song.
Mm-hmm.
1980. I came out of high school. I came out. So that was a thing. It was just great music. It was happy
Mm-hmm.
times. But you guys said something interesting about the newer generation not knowing about this music. I was out on Sunday at a gathering with a friend of mine, and her daughter is 18. And so the mother asked me, was I doing anything recently musically? And I said, yes. I had some cards with me. I said, and I'm doing Ashford and Simpson in May. So she said, oh my God, I would love to see that. And her daughter said, so I said, bring your daughter. She said, who is Ashford and Simpson? I said, huh? I said, oh my God. So her mother said, oh, well, she's only 18. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, do you know who Diana Ross is? She said, no. I said, Mom, you and your daughter need to leave the building right now. But when I said, you don't know the
Mm-hmm.
song, I'm coming out. And so I started singing some of them. Do you know what she said? Oh, that's the song that some rapper guy did a mix to it. I said, oh my God, please leave the building
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Yeah, but I'm coming out was
Yeah.
not a song that was not a song that Ashford and Simpson wrote.
They didn't. It was the boss, one of them.
Right, the
The
boss.
The
boss.
boss.
The boss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was,
It
yes,
is. I
theme
mean,
song. I was
but
the
that's
boss back then.
right. But we have to give our young people some grace because history hasn't been being passed down like it's been in past generations. And what we're hearing now, this is the sample generation that we're in now, where they take bits and pieces of your work and sample it. But it waters down who was the originator or creator of it. In terms of, I'm gonna go back to Troy real quick. In terms of um, Soulmates, why Ashford and Simpson and why now?
Well, I chose Ashford and Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was Valerie Lewis, a longtime arena player
Mm-hmm.
member. We were talking one day, and she suggested to me, and that hit me like a light bulb because when around 2016, I was working at the UB Blake Center. I had a cabaret company there, and we would do theme shows. And
Right.
so Ashford and Simpson was one of the things that we would do because that was more along the lines of dealing with African American music. And so
Mm-hmm.
when the arena players invited me to create a jukebox musical, choosing the artist of my own choice, it was natural. Go with Ashford and Simpson. So, yeah. And I talked to a couple of people, and they said yes. And then I went back to my notes from 2016, and I
Right.
said, yeah, this makes sense because we were going to do an Ashford and Simpson concert. So let me take this concert that was planned, but for some reason I don't know why we didn't do it. But take this concert and turn it into something a little bit more, where we could put it on a stage that it's not an autobiographical musical of their lives, but it is something of like a review where you could get an appreciation for the music that they did as songwriters, as well as a musical performance duo themselves. So, so that's where it basically, the whole idea. Plus, I'll just throw in there, when we're talking about young people, I was 10 years old when my stepfather brought home an Ashford and Simpson album, the album Send It, 1977. And he played that thing over and over. And I listened to it and I heard him, and I was instantly just taken by it. So I actually took his record, and I still have it today. To this very day, I have it right here. I pulled it out. This is the Ashford and Simpson album that my stepfather turned me on in 1977, and I've had it since then. And and it's that whole thing of where, parents, grandparents, there was a time when grandparents, parents, and children, they all listened to some of the same music. So, showing grace, like you said, and showing a need for, just sharing with the community. I thought maybe I need to create something beyond just music of my generation. And if you notice tonight, we have on here people who were actually living during the era of Ashford and Simpson when they were recording and performing. Because in the actual show, we have a lot of young people in their 20s and in their 30s. The majority of the cast is in their 30s. And I just think that's unique. And this is what we do, as the elders in mentoring our younger folks.
Yeah. And I love the fact that this is a unique cast because many of them were trained by some of the people that are sitting here in front of you, and guided and mentored. But I love the fact that it's still the passing down of information. We're in a phase right now where we're doing a lot of table work and having discussions. So a lot of the stuff that they may not know, it's either being reinforced or given to them. And I love when that happens. I love that process. Having went to school with Mama Jaki, you get information like that just in conversation. I've learned a lot just by us having random conversations, in rehearsal or in the auditorium or in class, just general conversation, and those things being brought up in a way that gives me respect for that type of history. Mama Jaki, being a dramaturge is a serious thing. I can't remember her name. Who used to be our dramaturge at Coppin a lot?
Eugenia Collier.
Miss Eugenia Collier.
Eugenia Collier,
Dr.
yeah.
Eugenia Collier. That is just a girth of information. So for you, now sitting in that elder role where you are the dramaturge for this production, what does that mean for you?
Well,
in terms of history or culture?
First thing I thought about was Mama Eugenia because she brought all the backstory.
Yes, all the information.
Politics during that time. How did people dress during that time? What was the role of men and women during that time? So when every play we went in, we had a knowledge of what we were walking into, so that we could tell the truth about that story in that period.
Right.
The blessing in doing this piece is like Troy. I grew up listening to Ashford and Simpson. When Send It came out, I was engaged and married my husband.
She was sending it, baby.
Yeah, baby. And we had a long distance relationship because he was in graduate school in New Jersey and I was still living in North Carolina. So which is why I could identify with the love letters part, because we wrote each other a lot. And so it was a challenge.
Yeah.
And it was also identifiable. And plus, me being the music head that I am, you remember who wrote what songs. When you got that album, You know,
Mm-hmm.
all the liner notes on the back, who did what, who played what, you knew who sat on what. So I didn't walk in with just cursory knowledge of Ashford and Simpson. I literally, you know, I remember the footage, the interviews, everything. So that gave me a slight advantage, but at the same token, I'm also recognizing I'm standing on some mighty shoulders. So, Dr. Eugenia Collier, thank you, Mama.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Lashelle, can you
Jackie.
hear me? Go ahead, Troy.
I just want to piggyback off of what Jackie's saying, because when you think about American songwriters, and I Googled, you know, top 10 American songwriters, top 10 duo American songwriters. There were Ashford and Simpson were the only ones listed in the top 10 of American songwriting duos, and the long list. They, you know, it was just amazing to see that how many African American songwriters weren't represented. And then I said to myself, wait a minute, we got to make sure we're telling our stories.
Yeah,
and it's not up to the artists, it's the people. We got to love on them and tell the story of what the music means to us. So in terms of developing a script, that's where I came up with the idea. First and foremost, music first. It has to be about the music. So when you walk into the theater, you will think you're coming into a concert. But as we get into, without giving away the details of the show, as we get into it, you'll start to see how the music influence people in their lives. That's why it's called Soulmates, the music of Ashford and Simpson, because we have to tell our stories as well. And there's so much great music that they composed that they were there in certain parts of their life. I know I was 10 years old when that Send It album came out and I fell in love. I knew exactly where I was in life and where I wanted to go. So I'm just saying that it's a cultural situation.
Right.
You know, it's a cultural situation of saying, this is our culture, y'all. And this is how, instead of just getting into their lives, did they do this? Did they do that? What happened when they walked into Motown and, you know, they were in the studio with Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell? No, when you heard You're All I Need to Get By, how did that song influence my grandparents? You know, when you hear Send It, how did that influence my parents? When you hear Solid as a Rock, my generation, okay, how did that, you know, mold and shape? And then it was flipped. Valerie Simpson tells a wonderful story about how there was a young lady in the audience when they were doing Solid, and she was saying Solid as Barack. And this is when, you know, President Obama just came into office. And so their music flipped to a whole nother generation. So this is culturally a generational thing. And I wanted to show that in a script form, you know, where the people can come and sit in the theater and get that music, but get some ideas, some stories, some cultural stories of our people. I
love the music because it just tells stories. And Ashford and Simpson had their own unique style in telling stories. I am a diehard fan. I think Eddie is of The Boss, and it's just a song that I grew up listening to, and I knew when my grandmother was feeling like in her memory phase, because she loved that song for some reason. Like that she said that was her hot song. That's when she was feeling hot.
All right, Mama.
But it just, and I remember just hearing it and hearing the story. And they definitely, their song, and to learn that Nick wrote a lot of those songs, you know, it was amazing because we look at Babyface and male singers like that, but you see where it also came from, like that storytelling type of songwriting. Where how can a man write songs like this for some of like the biggest divas in the industry? He wrote great love songs, and it just is amazing. So he had to have been in that space at least to have felt that.
Yes, he did.
And there's tons of interviews about that. Can you hear me, Lashelle?
And he wrote I'm Every Woman. And he wrote
Yeah.
I'm Every Woman. But I gotta tell you, the time that I met, I can hear you now.
Okay.
So what you asked me in the beginning, what is my
Oh, there you go.
contribution to the production.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I love
She has to stay wherever it is. She keeps her voice right in that direction because every time she moves, it goes out.
Yeah.
She gone.
Yeah,
Can
well,
you
I'll say real quick
right
for
here.
Lashelle.
Am I good now?
Yeah, go
hold
ahead.
on, Lashelle, real quick. Log
Am I
out
good?
and then log back in again.
How about now?
Give me a favor. Log out and then log back in. It might just be the connection.
Okay. Oh God, I'm scared to
So
log out.
All right, well, can we keep moving? Because
right, we can keep moving. Um, Troy is coining this phrase, theatrical mixtape. Can you one give us your definition of that? And I would like the other two to kind of chime in and tell you what that means to you in reference to us doing a musical piece.
well, I didn't come up with the term
Right.
theatrical mixtape. I heard it from
Mm-hmm.
a group of people on the West Coast who did a piece.
Right.
There was a theatrical mixtape, but then I wanted to make sure what is my own interpretation of that. When you hear a
Mm-hmm.
phrase that you like and you want to define something, my thing is based on the music. The genesis of the piece starts with the music, and
Yes.
and the piece is built upon the music. So we start from what are these songs? How are these songs? What order should they be played in? And what kind? And as a director, I say, what kind of mood you want to have people in, and so how to make people flow. So with me, theatrical mixtape is okay. I have a set list of songs and those songs playing, and then how to connect from song to song. What I did,
Mm-hmm.
especially in this piece, was to connect from song to song. I actually wrote original pieces called intonations of love. Mama Jaki coined that phrase for me when she started to read what I was writing. And
Mm-hmm.
there are pieces that connect you from one song to the next song where you can actually you get a little bit more of the story, the backstory of the song. What if the song came to life with actual characters, and just so happened we will mention Diana Ross, the boss on that
Yeah.
album, Ashford and
Ooh,
Simpson. They,
oh, excuse me, y'all. I lost it.
Eddie, I'm gonna need to speak to your management while I'm talking. So
We need some more artist development.
right. So
You
just
see
so
that
happens,
pinky up?
like that piece is a piece that when I listen to It's My House and I Live Here,
Mm-hmm.
and I listen to the words, there's a welcome at the door, and if you come on in, you're going to get so
Oh,
much
wait a
more.
minute.
And it was
Mm-hmm.
built for love. When I listen to those wonderful words that Nick Ashford wrote, and then the
Mm-hmm.
music that Valerie Simpson composed to go under those wonderful lyrics,
Yeah.
I said, okay, this is something that moves. And then I thought about, I remember from talking to just different people would say, oh yeah, that was my jam for when we would clean the house. And so it
Mm-hmm.
hit me. Okay, it's my house and I live here. And that was music that in the African American culture, we got up on Saturday mornings and we cleaned the house.
Yes.
Right.
So you heard Marvin Gaye, you heard Al Green, you heard Aretha Franklin, but you also of course Diana Ross. And while that music was playing, your parents may have put on 3 albums on the turntable, and they had them things drop and playing the music play, and before you knew it, you were finished cleaning. So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. In the script, I wanted to make sure it connect personally with people in their lives and how we live our lives and mark spaces in time of our history. So
Right.
and that's where you really get the value of the music of Ashford and Simpson, how it made us feel, how it made us think, how it carried us through certain things, because not just them singing, but what they did for other people in terms of songwriting.
Right. Right. I'm gonna go to Eddie real quick. Being a
Can you
singer.
hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Oh, real quick, Eddie. Being a singer, what does it mean for you to be doing pieces like this that speaks to the music you actually grew up on?
Oh man, for me, it's like an honor, and I think because they were such top-notch musicians, I
Mhm.
have to bring my game even better because I want to make sure through Troy's directing and just what his vision is for this mixtape, if you will, that the music and the singers, all of us are just like we have to be there because they had dynamic background singers. They were dynamic singers themselves, and they were
Mm-hmm.
cultured singers, if you will. So I mean, when they sang, you understood every word that they said, and that's important because it tells the message. And just like what Troy is doing with this play, he's telling a message through those songs, connecting each one that we sing. They're all telling a story from beginning to end based on the Ashford and Simpson repertoire, if you will. And uh,
Mm.
and and so for me, it's an honor. I hope that I can live up to those vocals. Can be tough
And I
and
just want to,
high.
and I want
Huh?
to piggyback off of what Eddie's saying, because Eddie being a trained singer and a master vocalist, he's good because he's the seasoned there for our younger singers to kind of make sure that we're paying respect to that quality sound that they have. We're just not some singers up on the stage
No,
singing,
that's one of
but
Nathan Carter's children.
right,
Absolutely, absolutely.
that they're
Hugh Carey.
actually okay, that they're actually using vocal technique and certain placement in the
Mm-hmm.
sound, and so
Hmm.
because they had they are from an era where when you heard the music on the radio, you knew it was Ashford and Simpson by the vocal stylings. You knew it was,
Absolutely.
and so that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you own your own sound. And Eddie has a great technique of
But you know
he's
what
listened to the
though? It
music.
was nothing.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Miss Lashelle.
Oh, so but too, and as far as Ashes was concerned, there's nothing like seeing them in concert either. I mean, they were
Mm.
just electric. They had this thing about them. I mean, when I talk about it, I see them on that stage. That
Hmm.
music in the
Right.
ground at Painters Mill. I
That was
have
the
seen
best place
Ashford
to
and
see
Simpson, I
them.
know about 15
In the
times. I
round,
mean,
yeah.
Yeah, and
Mm.
Painters
any
Mill would do
artist
two
really.
shows. They would do the 8 o'clock show and the midnight show. Sometimes I was there for both of them. And
Mm.
to see them, when I listen to their music now, I still visualize them on the stage. I remember the time that I met them. We had a record shop in the Waverly Tower Shopping Center, and Win Radio Station was around the corner. And we had the radio
Mm.
station playing in the store. And they
I just had a
always
whole
had
flash.
people. I met a lot of people working there. And when I
Mm.
met them, and I was, all excited and everything, and I was like, "Can I touch your hair? Can I touch your hair?" And he let me touch his hair. I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" But I love their music
Mm.
again. The way they sing, the words that they penned and played the music. Sometimes I don't even want to sing with them. I just want to hear them. Because sometimes every little ooh and ah takes the song a little deeper. It just like, you
Mhm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean. Y'all been
Mm-hmm.
there. Y'all felt
Oh
that.
yeah, oh yeah.
But
You
but
felt
you know
it.
that's how writers back then wrote. They wrote from their feeling. They wrote from the place that they were. Writers
Right.
nowadays, they're not writing from
Yeah,
that place now. They're writing with a dollar sign in mind and
Yeah.
popularity. Our
Yeah.
writers wrote because that's what they love to do. They
that's
love to
it.
sing. They love to write. And when they wrote something, I mean, that's why when our albums, you had a whole big orchestral production before the lyrics even
Yes,
started,
you
and
did.
then you had this grand music in the between, and then this long lu- ending of
Yeah.
music. And people sat through it and they listened through it and they played that on the radio. But now people
Yeah.
all want that microwave type of
They did.
instant gratification. And
Right.
that's what's killing
Well
music.
said.
That is
That's
what's
it. And you
killing
can't
music.
Well
you can't
said.
tell who is who. And see, my children, I grew up in that record shop, and my mother, we grew up in the record shop, and then she would play when she get home. She would dance She would do modern dance in the living room and stuff like that.
That's right.
And just listen to music. Now, with my children know all of this. They know all of this music because that's what I brought them up on. And they stump their friends like, how do you know about that? Hey, it's what he grew up on. So in that respect, that's one thing I'm glad I taught them. They know that music. They know it.
Yeah.
Even when it's sampled.
Go ahead, Miss Jaki.
They can
And
call
to
it
your
out.
point, Eddie, I wanted to hear.
I love that. Ooh,
I wanted to hear sis because she waited so long to speak. But to your point, Eddie, I made a statement to Troy, and I hold to that if you laid out Ashford and Simpson's music chronologically, you don't have to know anything about them to know that their love for each other was very, very passionate.
Absolutely.
Their whole discography tells their story. So
their performance.
Their story. Oh my goodness, performance absolutely told the story. The passion, the everything, all the elements.
Sure did.
All the elements were there, so there was no fake.
It was right there.
My favorite song, "It Just Seems to Hang On."
Yes.
My favorite song is and it's like if you sit there and listen to it, it's like they love each other intensely. They really love each other, and you hear it.
Hey folks, I think we're confusing our audience. We're confusing our audience by talking over top of each other.
On the Send It album?
We just excited, yes.
Can we paint a picture of what Painter's Mill was to people like me who I've done the research, but can you paint a picture of what that arena was and how significant it was seeing people like Ashford and Simpson perform there?
Well, I'm gonna speak from an entertainer's point. That having that that round theater, that allowed you to touch every person and see every audience member as you're singing, and that round is going around. And so you were touching every soul, as opposed to those stages that are just standing there. You got people to your back, if you will, or people on the side of you. But this gave you the opportunity to be right in the center of it all and singing to your whole entire audience and giving them all a piece of you. And that even made singers back then connected with the audience. The more the audience gave to them, the more passion they gave back to the audience.
Can I jump in here for a minute, please? Just so we can give a little background. Painter's Mill was a venue in Owings Mills, and that's where a lot of artists would come in of many different genres to perform. And it was there before it was all of the Painter's Mill was developed. That was at one time the only thing that was actually there. And so this performance venue that was there, it was unique in terms of how the structure of it, because during that time, you didn't have venues that had revolving stages.
No.
And so, and the Painter's Mill was also an experience because you knew you were coming into a space where everyone came into that space dressed. It was a fashion show to walk in the door, even before you got to the artists in the performance. It was culturally, it was a fashion show in itself where people just came in and they went through that lobby and up and down.
Absolutely.
And the venue was a state-of-the-art venue for that time period. So
because I've walked many a runway at the Painter's Mill during the shows.
and Painter's Mill. Say this one thing about Painter's Mill. As much as I loved Painter's Mill, it had the worst parking lot. Oh my God, that parking lot was the worst. With the potholes and
the
stuff,
mud.
But the shows made up for that. The show's made up for it. You wouldn't even care.
It was because
all those shows.
The way it was designed was it was an intimate evening with whoever came on stage to perform. You knew you were going to get an intimate show with that. And it wasn't going to be a bad seat because of that revolving stage. And also the way the architecture, it was designed, it was, with a rake audience, with the bottom front rows were closer to the stage on the ground, and it kind of went up on a slant. So the seats were wonderful in terms of that, and the design of it was almost like the aisles were designed like a zigzag, where you would go down part of one aisle and then you would have to turn and go to the other side to go down, so that you wouldn't be looking at the back of a bunch of heads. So that's one of the reasons why Painter's Mill was so unique, because it was designed for audience comfort.
So what happened to it?
It was
they turned. I have no idea. I don't know. You know, I know wasn't it a fire there one time?
They tore it down for the new Owens Mills.
But right, but
yes,
before
there was
that,
once a fire. I remember that.
There was a fire
the fire
there.
Didn't destroy it to the point.
Right. And then they recovered from the fire.
Right.
And then, but it was just, development. The good old boys getting there and they want to develop property, and and Owens Mills was booming during this. So this had to be in late 70s, early 80s.
Yes.
So was it where the mall was, or was it near there?
It's actually there was a BJ's. If you remember the BJ's that was out there in Owens Mills, it was in that area.
Okay.
When I think of it, I always think about making that left right there, Painter's Mill Road, and it was right behind Maryland Cop.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was it open historically? Was it open to a lot of black acts, or was it something that had to be integrated? Or
it started out with a lot of white acts.
It was the civic center of the county.
Yeah, and country acts, but then you had promoters that started bringing in Ashford and Simpson and Gladys Knight and the Pips and Angela Bofield and a lot of artists with different promoters would come in and they would bring OJs stayed there. Stephanie Mills stayed, and Patti LaBelle rolled all over that revolving.
Yes.
So
kicked her shoes off. I think Patty almost kicked me in the head with one of her shoes at the Painter's Mill.
But it was a great venue, and it's just sad that venue wasn't reproduced some way, because it was intimate. It was a big venue, but it was intimate. When you could really enjoy the space, and
you could,
and actually. The reason why thinking of Arena Painter's Mill came up, because I said Arena is somewhat Arena Players. It's a very small version. We don't have the budget to make the stage turn, but it has somewhat of that semi-round feeling and that intimate feeling. So the setting of Soulmates is actually we take you back to Painter's Mill. I sat next to Oprah Winfrey and Tim Watts when they were dating. In Baltimore at an Ashford and Simpson concert. I'll never forget that, because I remember, Oprah was the big thing here in Baltimore, and Tim was big on V103. And I remember just sitting, with them, watching the show, and we were all having a good time. So that's the one memory of Painter's Mill that stick out in my memory when I think about that space.
Do you think we could get back to, not necessarily go backwards, but kind of recreate those types of spaces in a city that is everything now is an apartment complex or a parking lot or something that's not useful really, but do you think we could get this city back to that space where we have venues like that? Because we've lost a lot of the big great venues that we had.
I'm gonna jump in on this one.
Yes, we have.
I think Baltimore has to have balance in listening to people and planning. You when you have these committees that plan arts and culture and things like that in Baltimore City, you have to have balance of people, some of the elders to know some things that work, that can bring that to the table, as well as people who are on the come up. They can and kind of bring them both to the table, because it's like making a good gumbo. When you mix that together, you have something. But when you got Baltimore has been divided so much recently when it comes to art and culture, in my opinion. And so when you're looking at just one thing and focused on doing one thing one way, you got to look at what worked in the past. The history will never lie to you.
Right.
You know,
But
so
but you know what, Troy,
Sure
too,
won't.
when you think about
Yeah.
the individuals of the people of Baltimore, the culture has to change too. Because when you were back there, you were young and I was young. Everybody was involved in the culture of music or the culture of theater or something that was involved. And then there were programs to keep us involved. We
That
don't
part.
have those programs now. These kids don't have those programs because I remember growing up, there were modern dance programs free of charge that you could go to.
Right.
There were choirs that you could join, and there were always places that you could go to get something or to have some type of recreation or extracurricular activity. They don't have that anymore. They don't have the recs anymore that offer those type of things. So kids are not as interested as we were.
Yeah.
And we loved our parents' music. We loved our music. The kids today, they're only one-sided. They only particularly care for what they like, and that's it. And
Mm-hmm.
most of that stuff you
That
don't really
exposes
understand.
everything.
And
yeah,
Eddie, a lot of those things
You don't.
have come back, but they're not as accessible. And community has not really involved themselves in them. So a lot of them are struggling to stay open or maintain themselves. And even with being a teaching artist myself for a number of years, it is there, but it's limited.
hmm
Or it's not, we need community to ask for it and demand that those things be brought back.
and
But you know
that's
what, Nate? When I'm sorry for cutting anyone off, but I just
good.
wanted to make this point. When I was in high school,
Hmm.
Dunbar used to give the most elaborate musicals and plays. I'm talking the Mames, the Hello Dollies, the Music Mans, and these you would have thought you were actually going to a Broadway play
Mm-hmm.
Right.
because that's how talented these young kids were. The musicians that they used were students from the school. That the choir was the background singer, so it was everybody involved in that theater. And when they had the night to open the show, those theaters were packed,
But
and they
see,
were packed by the parents, the neighbors. Yeah.
But see, that kind of runs hand in hand when we talk about how communities have changed and how
Yeah.
arts education has. See, there's a lot of things that go into this. You know, we can go all night talking about like the lack of funding for arts education in our schools. You know, because when you look around Baltimore, you don't see a lot of funding for arts education in our schools, and
Right.
our children are suffering.
Sure don't.
I mean, they are suffering for good art and they can't find it, you know, and so something is kind of messed up with the breakdown of getting it to them. And then
Mhm.
sometimes we spoon feed them a little bit and we think we're doing the right thing. But yeah, I don't think that the kids in the school system, they're getting the quality arts education like we did. And that's why we can sit here and talk about what we
Oh,
don't
not at
have, but
all.
then we got to look at the other thing. You
Yeah.
know, we got to look at what's going on in funding for all of that stuff because
That's the part.
yeah, and then also what was happening in the home, what the
Hmm.
family was doing as a family structure, what we
Right.
would, you know, that's why one of the reasons in putting this production together, when it was time to do the casting of it, I knew I was going to get a certain crowd. You know, like I even said to several people, in putting this piece together, I wanted to put something that will speak to the 50 and over generation.
Yeah.
But but I did some workshops before we actually had auditions, and it was interesting that the majority of the people who came out were 30-year-olds. And I said,
Mhm.
okay, we that generation is starving for something. And that's what all of us, we would call ourselves the old heads of the production. We have to
Hmm.
give it to them. We have to make sure that we're providing certain things that, you know, that because I watch the people in rehearsal now and I watch how they just soak it up and how they singing this music. When y'all saying, ooh, love will fix it. And I was like, and they jump right in there and they just, it's
Yeah.
something that they gravitated towards, that singing style. So
You
they're
know,
hungry
Troy,
for it.
You and I talked about that. Remember, because you were talking about that we were the older ones and there were a lot of younger ones in there. And I said to you, what you're giving them is a basic master class. They're
Yeah.
getting a master. They got Mama there. They got you. They got Nate. They got Miss Lorraine. They got all of us there, and they're getting that master class for free. And I watched you looking at your students who you started out when these were little kids, and then now they're directing and a part of directing music in one of your plays. So they're now coming back and getting. That's why they're there, soaking up that energy because they're getting this wonderful master class.
Right.
You know, yeah.
I remember when I met Tevin. When I first met Tevin, Tevin was a 14-year-old little squirt.
I couldn't
Wow.
even see that.
Yeah.
That I've been to.
Running around, and it's
But
like,
the
oh my
photograph-
goodness, now he's the music director.
And we talking about Tevin Brown. When I met him,
Yeah.
he was 10 years old. He auditioned. He was a 10-year-old kid, and I knew, I could tell, but he was hungry and he was absorbing things that we were doing and what we were sharing, and
See it in his face.
it's an honor to have someone who was a student of yours now sit next to you as your peer.
But you know what? I'm sorry, Trey. I want to give you kudos because what's also a credit to you is that you still maintain that teacher-student relationship with them, and they respect it still. Because I know we were doing something musically, and our music director was going in a different direction, and you came right on in and said, "Yeah, but this," and they just grasped it and respected that. So that says a lot about what you've instilled in them. They still have this great respect for you, and because you came right over, even correct my ass. But excuse me, y'all out there in TV land.
They've heard worse. They've heard worse.
But you know,
Yeah.
it's giving what I got. You know, when I was coming along and learning here in Baltimore, it was, I had the Nathan Carters, the Jewel Churn, the Sam Wilson. I had these great people in Baltimore who were pouring into me. And so now I know I am the age that they were when they were pouring into me. I have to pour into the others. And it's a joy to sit back and watch them pour into other people, to see what Tevin has done with Mahalia, the current production at Arena Players. It's phenomenal. And you know, and just to see how he poured into them. So it's a cultural thing that we have done, and we've kind of, in some places it stopped, but see, that's the importance of Arena Players in Baltimore, is to be in the space where you know you're going to be poured into. You know, we're kind of losing some of that because we're losing a lot of those people, and so it's important, those of us who are still around, that we pick that up and run with it, because you know, you always have to pass the torch, you know, and that's been the thing. And so I already know, as I work on this production, who's going to take the torch from me, you know.
And
I trying to keep your eye out. You do look around and you go like, okay, when it's my time to sit down, who can carry this? You do.
It's very important. And me and Troy have a lot of. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr.
Go ahead.
First of all, Mr. Burton, thank you for allowing me to do the photo documentation of this play, because it's deep. I mean, when I'm taking those photos, their faces, I mean, their whole atmosphere. And then I'm learning some stuff too, you know, and thank you, because I'm enjoying my part of it.
Well, let me say this.
That's all I want to say.
It's a beautiful thing. We have a Nia who's in the show, beautiful vocalist. She's a former youth theater student, but having her in the show as an adult, do her adult thing, and then having her mom there as our featured artist that's going to show, because at the Arena Players, they have a lobby where they always feature visual artists showing their work. But it's wonderful to have that energy of a mother-daughter team right there with the production. And then Lashelle, thank you for coming in and documenting it all, because that's also important. When we talk about funding for the arts and we talk about, you know, getting support, you know, we have to have our documentation together. So that's important, that we can go to and document this whole experience through photography and show this is the process. That's how you get funds.
You got to show the process. You have to show the process. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're very important. You're necessary.
Well,
And
Thank you.
that's a big process that
wow.
me and Troy talk about a lot, because typically with theater, you don't see any of it. And then one day it premieres and then it closes. But being
Mhm.
specifically for theater, being able to see the process. I'm a educator, I'm an artist, and that's very important to me that we are continuously teaching, because that is what has happened. People stop showing the work. People stop showing what they're doing. So people stop learning in the process. And it's very important that we continue that process of teaching the younger generations and then people in general the significance of our history before they totally erase us off the board. But kind of moving the
That's
conversation
true.
more on the side
I
of,
think,
go
excuse
ahead.
me,
No, go ahead.
document to me, I mean, like, I do weddings, parties, and all of that stuff. But photo
Hmm.
documentation to me is everything. I love to document stuff, especially by
Right.
photo, because when you
Real,
can, especially when you put the photo in black and white, it just takes it to a whole other level. But photo
Hmm.
documentation, I love it. And now, like you
real
said, it
quick,
is,
Yeah.
Lashelle,
Oh,
can you
sorry.
it
do me a
is,
favor? Can you just share
it
with
really
everybody
is.
what you've done in
So
Baltimore in
thanks.
terms of your ghost signs?
Say
I
that
hear
one
you.
more time, Troy.
This is for Lashelle.
The
I
ghost.
just want her to briefly, yeah, I want her to briefly share what she has done in Baltimore in terms of, this has nothing to do with the production or Ashford Simpson's
Hmm.
music, but it's about preserving history. Can you share just a little bit? Just tell us a little bit what you do in Baltimore with the Ghost Sign Project.
Okay, I have been photographing what they call ghost signs for over 20 years. And ghost signs are the old advertisements that were painted on the sides of people's homes and on
Okay.
buildings. I've done several podcasts, I've done an exhibit, um, and that's documenting history because a lot of them now are gone. They're gone.
Yeah.
And when I first started doing them, I was just doing them because I liked the way they looked. But now I have over almost 200 in my arsenal.
Hmm.
But at one point in time, I stopped photographing them and started digging up the history on each and every sign. Who are these companies? And not only that, who are the people that painted these signs? What were they like when they went home with their hands cramped? I mean, just little simple stuff, but it's history. And I like history. So, yep,
Mm. That's
that's
a
it.
great perspective in the
Mhm.
Absolutely.
project.
Yeah, and then just like we're doing at the Arena
The
Players,
ghosts, the ghosts,
where
they're interesting.
we're actually taking music history and sharing it with the public of how, when you look
Mhm.
at different artists and you develop these stage productions related to people's music, we're teaching. I remember I was sitting at Mahalia the other day watching it, and two young girls were sitting there, and they sat back, and then they started leaning forward, and I noticed by the end of Act One they were leaning like on the edge of their seats, watching the production. And that's something we're talking about within our communities, that we're sharing history, and sometimes you can't share history through a video, or you can't sit down and say read it in the book. Sometimes you
Right.
got to use live people and the bodies to show it. So
Hmm.
this is, that's what we're doing when we say that we're doing the
Yes, you
music
do.
of Ashford and Simpson.
Mhm.
So I wanna this
Right.
last part of what we're talking about, I wanna bring back in the idea of love letters and expressing love, because in addition to the music of Ashford and Simpson being performed and displayed on stage, Troy, um, with some contributions from Mama Jaki, have infused some monologues and some, what do they call it, intonations of love, is that what we're
Yes,
calling it,
yes.
into this piece with stories that depict different forms of soulmates or love being shared between two people or from one person to another. Can we talk a little bit about that aspect and how music has always showcased that type of love, especially black music?
Okay.
Jackie, you want to start or you want me to go?
Sure. First of all, when you sat down to write a love letter, you didn't just write a love letter blind. The music was always the backdrop. And
That's
it
the
was
juicy part. Let me get comfortable. Let me get comfortable.
and the music was always the backdrop. And in order it inspired you. It inspired you to write those intonations of love. So you always had that song, that one song that you and your beloved shared together. So when you wrote, that song had to play. For me, it was always the perfume on the stationery. The stationery had to be beautiful, and it was a set aside from your other stationery that you wrote everybody else. This was for your boo thing. So boo got the
Miss
perfume.
Jackie had a boo thing. Let me find out.
I got married, baby. So you sprayed your little stationery. The music was always the backdrop, and anything that came out of your heart from that hit the page. So if you go as far back as our grandparents, everybody had that song, that thing that they shared together. They shared their first dance together, their first date, their first drinking a soda out of 2 straws, whatever, because you had that thing that you did, but the letters is what held you together. Because you gotta understand, we don't live in an era where now you live in an era where you call long distance and it's like calling next door. Long distance phone calls cost, and they cost a lot. So the economy meant, all right, let me write these letters. I think how much it cost? 5 cents to mail a letter back then. And if it is an emergency, you sent a telegram. Okay. So everything was all all written word. Yeah. I'm telling my age now for real.
So no booty calls, but we making.
Oh no, there were no booty calls, baby. You had to make arrangements. No, there ain't no showing up at my door. We're not having that. Besides, whole different set of societal standards back then. There were certain things that a proper young lady didn't do, or proper gentleman just did not do.
It's true.
Especially.
So I'm being nosy. What was that? What was that song for you, Miss Mama Jackie, and her boo thing?
For me and my husband, I think that album came out. Actually, the song that really did it for him and I was a song by Chick Corea called "Romantic Warrior." And we used to play that a lot. It was jazz because we both were jazz heads. But whenever I was ready to write him, that was always in the backdrop. But our taste grew as we grew together. So Ashford and Simpson was definitely part of the mix. Luther Vandross was definitely a part of the mix, especially especially early Luther. But a lot of jazz. So I listened to a lot of Ronnie Laws. I listened to a lot of
George Benson.
Oh, absolutely. Breezing, yeah, definitely. A lot of the old stuff.
Yes, indeed. No doubt.
Yeah, but somewhere in there in the mix, I promise you, Ashford and Simpson showed up. Patti LaBelle was somewhere in that mix. It's the Bluebells, Lil Funk, because you had to play a little higher players, had to play a little Confunction, little Barcades. But they all, even on the funk albums, there was always a love song. Always a love song, but that's what you played. That was your backdrop for when you wrote. So when you talk to your grandparents about that same thing, they had a song. My parents were jitterbuggers because they grew up during the 50s. But they had Moody's Mood by James Moody. That was their song. So everybody has a song. Yeah.
So for you, Troy, in terms of the love aspect of it, because you gathered some of the stories, a lot of the stories, and did some interviews. What has been the love aspect of this project for you? And I want to know what your song is. Don't think you getting out of that.
Okay. It actually, just thinking, first and foremost, when we think of Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson, we do think of them as soulmates, but you got to look at that they were soulmates in 3 different eras. I mean, three different areas. First, they were Soulmates as a songwriting team, and then they became Soulmates as husband and wife, and then they became Soulmates as a performing duo. So when you look at those three different areas in their life, you say, oh yeah. And then that kind of got me going as far as looking at other people. So I started with myself, and I called my mother and I talked to her. And after talking to her, I found out that my grandparents were both married for over 70 years on both sides of my family. So that led to a lot of interesting conversations. And that's where some of these love letters come. The first couple of love letters in there, actually me writing with my grandparents in mind. How they communicated each other, how they courted each other, and their relationships. And I took it from there and went on in other places to find, like I mentioned the Donna Ross song "It's My House" and how she talked about cleaning up the house on Saturday morning. But she also talked about the love that mommy and daddy built in this house. The foundation that they built in this house. So them as soulmates. And the more I got into it, I said, okay, love letters. And then there's several love letters in the show where I talk about Ashford and Simpson, how they write for other people, where they're going to go to this special party. And at this party, you're going to see Black people, beautiful Black people, just in their best, just fabulous and fierce. And you'll see Dinah Ross there. You'll see Shaka Khan there. You'll see Gladys Knight, of course, with her pips. You'll see all of these people you'll see Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell there. These are people that they wrote music for. So I found a way to incorporate that so that you can educate people on some of the who they wrote for. Some of these songs that Ashford and Simpson wrote. Just on the Grammys a couple weeks ago, you heard a song at the beginning called California Soul, which was an Ashford and Simpson song. So, and most people probably don't know that. We get into songs that you don't know that they wrote, but they were there. Like I played a song that they wrote for Aretha Franklin. A lot of people don't even know they wrote for Aretha Franklin back in the day, before she became the Aretha Franklin, Queen of Soul.
Exactly.
And Ray Charles, getting into that. There's a wonderful song that we have in the show, "Shoe Shoe Shine" from the 70s. When I talk to people about that, and they're like, "Damn, I didn't know they wrote that."
I didn't know.
So doing the research for this, it was just enlightening to see, how they have influenced our music, our culture, and the family unit. So having them, it was just, and then seeing them as a performance duo themselves, that was big. Seeing them on stage, it was the foreplay and song and vocal complimenting each other. And if he moved this way, she moved that way, and it seemed like they melted together. You don't see that anymore. So I want to illustrate that and show people something that that is. I'm going to say this. It feels like people are starving for love now. And because I've done a lot of shows where we talk about the trauma, and there is some trauma in this show, but at the same time, let's not forget about love. Give me something real kind of love. And so they are great examples of that. And people, they want that, but they're not getting it because they're not seeing the example. So you gotta put it out there.
Gotta show them. Yeah, you just reminded me of one of the songs that was definitely on my playlist was the soundtrack to Claudine by Curtis Mayfield. Yeah, baby.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. On and on.
Yes, ma'am. No, the makings of you, actually. The makings of you.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked me about a song.
Absolutely.
Let me get my song real quick. There's a song Valerie Simpson recorded 2 solo albums for Motown in the early 70s. And there's a song that she did on her first recording
Mhm.
called "Back to Nowhere." And
Mhm.
it's a very heartfelt song, and it's about having that special person in your life, and and don't take me back to a place without that person in my life. Because in the show, we do deal with losing your soulmate,
Uh-huh.
because that does happen. And I'm
Right.
not going to go into detail, but a friend of mine lost his soulmate recently, and
Mhm.
I remember being around that friend, and then just talking and hearing the conversation, that kind of
Mhm.
triggered something that I need to kind of address that in the show. And then also it triggered a memory of my own grandfather at my grandmother's funeral. I will never forget. I'll never forget this moan that I heard where he just bent over into my mother's lap. And my grandfather, the man of strength, who taught me how to be a strong man,
Right.
just seeing him in a fetal position at that moment when he lost his soulmate, that had a lasting impact on me. So when you say songs, that was one of my songs that it comes from a tragic place of losing your soulmate, and it's beautifully sung by Valerie Simpson, and we will
Mhm.
get to that in the show. I'm not going to give away the details of how it's featured, but because that's my special theater magic, that I go poof and make stuff happen. But I mean, it's so much. I just had a problem because I couldn't put all the music
Wow.
in the show that I wanted.
Mhm.
And I saw a video of Valerie Simpson singing after Nick Ashford passed. Um, there's a song called "Anywhere," and she sang the line, "I would know you anywhere you are, anywhere
Mhm.
where you go." And I'm not getting the lyrics right, but the way she sang that, and I was like, just
Mhm.
See,
listen,
that's the
listen.
thing about, excuse me, I'm sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing about Ashford Simpson. It was the way they sung, the words that they wrote, and the way they played the music. It just took you. It just took you. It
Hmm.
just took you. And
Yeah.
if you don't even know a lot about music, but to listen to them, like I said,
Mhm.
sometimes I don't even sing with them. I just want to
Yeah.
hear them every little oomph and and like I was telling Mr. Burton when Nick on So Satisfied, when he'd be like, "Oh shucks, woo," stuff like
Yeah.
that. Those little umps and ums, they make the songs.
Mm-hmm.
For me, they did anyway.
And so
And
so in
yeah,
the show, you're gonna get all the popular
you
stuff,
gotta
like,
love them, man. You gotta love them.
yeah, you're gonna get your "All I Need to Get By,"
And
"Ain't
another
Nothing
one,
Like the Real Thing,"
Mhm.
"Your Precious Love," "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." You're gonna get all those songs that you love to hear. But I go digging through the crates and I pull out some jewels that were great songs, great
Mhm.
songwriting, and just to kind of like make it personal to you. And
Right.
and adding the intonations of love, where we go through a variety of subject matters, because when the song they wrote for Ray Charles, "Let's Go Get Stoned," I applied that to
let's
a
go get
young man.
strong.
Okay, a young man who was in the military, who comes home from the Vietnam War,
Mm-hmm.
and how he faced life in America, you know, and
Mhm.
when he talk about that he's going to go down that road um to his favorite spot, you know, and saying, "Let's go get stoned." Let's go get stoned just don't mean go down there and smoke a little weed or drink a little booze, because
Different time.
actually it "Let's go get stoned" meaning something else about dealing with life as a black man in a certain time in America. So we get kind
Mhm.
of deep with some stuff like that,
Mm,
so I want to make sure that we convey all of that, you know, to the audience, that you're gonna go
Mhm.
home thinking something. You're just not gonna sit in the audience and say, okay, uh, we just gonna hear a bunch of great music, because you're gonna hear that. But me thinking as a person who's like a producer, director, what do I want the audience to see? Why would they spend their money? Because people spend their money. They're spending their
Right.
money to come to the show. We want y'all to buy them tickets to the 24th of May, the night that
Mhm.
Nate is hosting. Does the stories move you? Think about that. You know, how is the audience going to connect with what's going on? You're going to hear all the best hits, but how does that connect to you personally?
Mm. So I mean, we've heard the boo thing music from Mama Jackie and
But
Troy.
you know what?
I want to hear from Eddie and Lashelle. So Eddie, what's your love connection, and what's that love song for you
Well, I
and
think
your
for me,
boo
because
thing?
you know, I'm an outgoing, happy-go-lucky person. So I'm a related to one of Ashford and Simpson's songs, and it is "Listen, baby, ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. If you need me, call me. I'll be there in a hurry. You don't have to worry. Baby, there ain't no mountain high enough."
Go
I didn't
get
get all
him,
the words, but
get
that was
him.
one of my songs.
Mm. And that's one of their standards that everybody knows, but
Everybody knows.
it's a timeless song. That is such a timeless song.
Yeah.
We've heard that in some movie or some TV show or
Yep.
remade in some way or another.
Somebody done remixed it.
Yeah,
Mm,
first thing I thought about was Jocelyn Brown.
mm.
Yes.
So, Miss Lachelle,
Yeah.
what's your boo thing music and what's your
For
love connection
me,
as in terms of your connection to this?
You Are My Starship by Norman Connors.
Ooh,
Is
Right.
right
Frankie
behind that.
Henderson. Yes.
I know,
Nice,
right?
sis.
I know, right?
Nice.
And right
Yes.
behind that is Ashford and Simpson's Let Love Use Me on the Singing
Oh,
Mm,
album.
yeah. Come on now.
That song right there, oh
mm.
my God. Woo!
Yeah.
I'm telling
I
you,
want to put that in the
listen
show
to it.
so
But I
bad. I want
will say this. At the end of this play, you're gonna have people going home with history, thoughts, and they will play that music all the way home. And they will listen.
Mm,
We're older now. I mean, even though they were intense when we were coming up, but they have a whole different, it's a whole different animal now. You know,
Yeah, they
for
hit
me anyway,
differently.
I listen to them totally different. Like the boss. The boss
Do
was
y'all
never really
remember?
no. It's My House was never really one of my favorite songs. But I found myself listening to it now, and I like it. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
mm,
because I listen to it
Do, y-
differently now.
do y'all
So
remember Slow
you're going to
Dragon?
accomplish everything that you're out to do. You're going to do it.
mm.
Do you guys
Yes,
remember Slow
do the slow
Dragon?
drag.
Oh my God. All for One and One for All was a good
Yes,
old slow drag piece, man.
Mm-mm.
Yes, indeedy. And that's Ashford and Simpson, correct?
Yep, that's
Yes,
them.
That was the
Yep.
closest you was gonna get to having sex.
pretty much.
yeah,
Pretty much. And the clubs
Mm.
played
it
those
sure
little
was,
drag
wasn't it?
pieces.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Like
Because you go to the clubs back in the day, you get the thump, thump, thump music, but then they would slow it down for you
Had
so
to
you
slow
could
it
grab
down.
your partner after
That's
you done
right.
sweated all over the floor and pull
That's
it
it.
right on close to you, or get that one you picking for the evening.
okay,
Mm.
like Lachelle brought up so satisfied. That was during the era where like when Donna Summer was big with Love to Love You
Yes.
Baby.
Yes.
The
Okay.
way I look at it is Ashford and
Yes.
Simpson decided to write something without saying something like that, feeling high, so satisfied. And they went on for 7 minutes with
Yes, they
that
did.
song, just that black on black love, just
Mm,
that expression of
Mhm.
love, you know,
Mhm.
mm.
and that's when you had songs that would go for a while. So you put that song on, you can also go for a while too.
How
Okay.
you know?
Hint, hint.
That's true.
Look, how you know?
That's another show, Eddie. That's another
Oh,
show.
okay,
That's
my
another
bad.
show.
Look,
I'll
That's
catch you
another
hey,
later,
show.
Troy.
That's
hey
another. That's
Eddie,
the next show.
they got to come to the play to find out. You come to the
Oh,
That's what
play,
I'm saying. That's right.
you
wait a
know.
minute now. Wait a
That
minute. Get them
May
that will
tickets
be Mr.
24th,
now.
Burton
right?
next show.
I'm gonna give
Mm.
no. I'm gonna give you a line real quick that Jackie Terry wrote that goes with that piece. Let me find it real quick.
Mm-mm.
Because I got my script right here. Uh, I imagine pouring juice
Oh
for
God,
you.
Jackie, what you do?
Fresh.
What you
Now
do,
y'all got
girl?
be
Hold
quiet
on,
and
wait a
listen.
minute, wait a
Be
minute.
quiet. I imagine pouring juice for you. Fresh squeezed orgasms of music made at dawn. Inspiration calls us at will while we
Shut up.
compose our lives around our passion. Jackie
Mm.
Turner can write some. She can write some stuff.
Cause she done had a boo thing or
Stop
two
that,
in her
Jackie.
life.
Stop
She
that, girl.
she just
So so when
We're gonna
when
talk about some grown folk. Let's talk about grown
The
folk,
next
man.
time you ask me what
mm.
my boo thing is,
she
But it's
said,
I love
I like that, Jackie.
the connections that are being made, and what and I'm not without telling everything, but there is a lot of intonations of love written throughout this in various forms, whether it be friendship or love or marriage or just stories. And
but
we're
she
gonna
said,
definitely hear a lot from some of the castmates. Well, all the castmates will join us in an interview at some point throughout this process, and we're gonna
I
get
think some of them in the
their
chat.
take on love and what this means to them as we
She
close
said
out.
she said
um
fresh squeezed orgasms. That's the I mean, comparing
mm,
that to orange juice. Come on now,
right,
y'all. Come on.
I'll never look at
Calm
orange
down,
That's
juice.
why
right.
baby.
grown folk talk to
Troy
each
been
other.
reading that poem.
Yes, calm
That's
down, Troy.
Troy been
Go
reading that
take a
poem,
drink.
baby.
Take a drink.
Cool off, cool off.
That's it,
I'll
baby.
never look at an orange the same,
Absolutely.
Jackie.
You heard him about that orange juice, baby.
Cheers.
But
Mm,
I'm gonna tell y'all this. I'm gonna tell y'all this, and I shouldn't say it. But in putting all this together, I had to do an audio book. So like as a playwright and a director, and some of that stuff is recorded. I'll never play it publicly, but some of those with Jackie, you've heard what I did with that, and
mm.
whew, I mean, and I'll play it for the cast so they can get in character. But outside of that, I'm not gonna play it for the public. But
Not yet. You
Mm.
gotta buy a ticket for that, baby.
You
but
gotta
see,
buy a ticket for that.
You gotta buy a ticket for that. That
but
ain't no giveaway.
That that might
right.
be one of his private shows. We don't know, Eddie. We don't know.
Okay. But I
Let me
would I
find.
would like to tell the audience to
Mhm.
come and enjoy the show and in fact enjoy all the promotions had going up to the show, particularly when we get into rehearsal. You're going to get some wonderful behind the scenes, which will tell you the story of our real love for this show
Mm.
and our real love for each other, our
Yeah.
real love for our director. So come and come and see the show because it's going to be absolutely wonderful.
And
Yeah.
follow
You
this
gotta
journey
see it.
along on our pages, and you'll definitely get a glimpse, a little glimpse, not enough
Absolutely.
that you don't have to buy a ticket, but a glimpse into what the making of this project is. I want to transition and end this with figuring out what your passion is and running towards that. Troy has created this process of theater where it's like a year-long project. And you may have just caught on to it tonight when we're talking about it, but we've been talking about this since last year. And Troy has created and assembled people from all walks of life and just all levels of artistry to create projects. So I have to commend you, Troy, for
Hmm.
continuing that on and really making theater accessible and almost fun again. You know, me and Jackie, we went to Coppin and we learned under Meanie Courts, her way
Yeah,
of doing things, and it makes me feel that again, where art is not just for the sake of learning lines and getting on stage and performing it, but you are going to learn something regardless of what you thought this was
absolutely.
going to be. And this has
Ab-
been a process of learning, doing starting with Pearly and then a real nigga show, and then you thought I was him, and now Soulmates. Like I feel like I should get a master's degree after this. Like, give me my
Absolutely.
robe
He said,
now
"Get your robe and
because
let you
I
walk."
yes, let me walk across stage right
Yes,
now,
sir. Yes,
sight
sir.
unseen. I need my master's degree right now, and it just I really appreciate all of the information and then being used in a way where I am being able to showcase what I know, and other artists are being able to showcase. Most people don't allow people to be themselves in these spaces, but you are letting young people as well as our seasoned veterans be themselves in a space where we typically have to just follow direction and, you know, talk less and do more. But you're allowing us to really learn things and recapture that essence and that love, because many of us are falling out of love with this art thing, and this is a space to really genuinely fall back in love or fall in love, because some people are doing this for the first time. But
You know, Nate,
uh-huh.
I have to. I say to Troy all the time. I said, I don't know why you give me lines because I am not an actor. I consider myself a singer, but he insists on giving me these big monologues, and then coaches me and encourages me, and then I'm walking out on the stage thinking I'm what is her name? What's that big actress name? That's a damn shame. I should know that. Yes, her. That one too. But I mean, he just gives you that space to, you know, just expound on that gift that you have. Because
Yeah.
again, I think of myself as just a singer. But every time I go out here, and it seems like he's writing these monologues personally for me when they really don't. They're not. But they seem to just connect with me. That's the writer in
Right.
him. So
And that's his
kudos to you,
observing
Big
eye.
Papa.
Yeah, that's good casting too.
Yes.
That's good casting because one of the beautiful things I like about working with Troy, Troy will make you go find the honesty in you that you didn't know you had.
Right.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I know it was that experience with me when him and I did my one woman show. He made me go dig.
That's why
and go find some stuff that was really challenging to do. Yeah. But I was thinking about us today, Troy. November this year will make 30 years you and I have been working together. Started on For Color Girls. And one of the beautiful things that Meanie did is even though For Color Girls was an all-woman cast, the tech crew was all male. And the first time I got to work with Troy was in November of 1994. And yeah. And then right after that, I had wrote some books. And I was like, he let me know he was working with youth theater. And it was like, you ever meet somebody when you meet them for the first time, you knew you're gonna be cool for the rest of your life? I just knew we was gonna be all right.
Wow, Jaki.
And for 30 years, him and I have worked together consistently, either in production, on a production, or Jaki, what you wrote. Let me see it. So I remember when I gave him my book.
Miss Jaki, 30 years ago was the first play that I did with Troy, which was the Gospel of Colonus, right, Troy?
We were in Colonus together.
Right. 30 years. That was my first play with Troy. Wow, Troy, you know you getting up there, baby.
So I say all that to say
you still look fabulous, yes indeedy.
But I say all that to say that these last 30 years have been joyous, have been absolutely joyous. You make me dig, you make me come honest. And it's a very comforting thing as a writer to be able to hand a director your work and go, you know what? I trust you. Not only do I trust you, but I trust that you're going to make me see a side of me that I was afraid to explore. And you're going to do it with tenderness and compassion and love. So I honor you. And anytime you call, baby, I'm answering the phone. You already know we are who we are. So thank you for being showing up.
So as we end this promenade of love and good music and theater, I want to put together the best mixtape that you think we can assemble. So every person's going to name 2 songs. It could be an Ashford and Simpson or not, for our great mixtape. What's 2 songs that has to be on this mixtape for you? We're going to start with Eddie.
God, that's hard. Can you come back to me? Because I have to think about that. Because music,
you got to whittle it down.
I will.
Lashelle, what's your 2 songs?
Let Love Use Me by Ashford and Simpson and Maxwell. anything by Maxwell. No, Lifetime.
Lord Jesus.
Lifetime by
Lord
Maxwell.
Lifetime.
Jesus.
Those
Tell
are
the
my
truth.
two.
Okay.
Tell the truth.
Go ahead, Miss Jackie. You next.
God is. God is by Ashford and Simpson, and it just seems to hang on. If you ever notice, whenever that song comes on in rehearsal, I have to mute because I will sing along. That's my jam. Oh my goodness.
So what are they again? What's the two again?
God is. God
Okay.
is. Yeah, and it just seems to hang on.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about you, Mr. Troy? What's your two songs?
I'm gonna say "Send It" by Ashford and Simpson,
Mm.
and I am going to say, oh, what is that song? It's a song by Mesa. Oh God, I can't think of the name. She's gonna kill me. I work for the lady. It's off of her. It's off of her Smooth Sailing record.
Oh, I don't have that one.
All Night Long.
All Night
Okay.
Long. Off of Smooth Sailing. You got yours, Eddie?
Yes, mine would be Sovereign by Daryl Coley.
Come on now.
And I would say It Seems to Hang On.
Yes.
Lil Smith.
Yeah. Oh, glory. EKO2. That's Coke spelled backwards.
I've been cut because me and Troy been talking about this
Mr.
for
Host,
a
what are your
second.
two songs?
Because we've been talking about this for a second, I had to go. So it has to be a Luther Vandross song, and it is I gotta think of it. Never Too Much by Luther Vandross. And this, I don't know where my love for this song is. What is it? She has this long talking interlude in the beginning of the song. My very first time. Y'all remember the name of that song?
Betty Wright.
Betty
Wright.
Oh, now.
Right.
I don't know where I love every time there was a jukebox. I think going to the Mount Vernon Stable here in Baltimore.
Oh yeah.
I would always play that song in that jukebox. And I was so mad when they switched their jukebox over because they took that song out. But that was my two favorite songs. Never Too Much. And what's the name of the song again?
Tonight is the night.
My very first time.
Tonight is the night.
Tonight is the night.
Tonight is the night. Those two songs. So that you go get a little something off of this mixtape. But again, Soulmates opens up on May 10th at the historical Arena Playhouse.
Yes.
And it runs through May 27th. Please get your tickets. Go on the website at Arena Players. Is it arenaplayers.com?
Yes.
I believe it's arenaplayers.com, and get your tickets. In the description, there will be a link to the tickets, and I want you to come out on May 25th. So you may have to come to opening night or one other night, but you gotta come on May 25th. I mean May 24th. I'm messing my own birthday up. May 24th. Get your tickets. Call me, tell me where you at, and I'll mail them to you, ship them to you, walk them over to you. I need you to come out. I am very excited. For me to spend my birthday somewhere, it is special. And I really have, I love the concept of this play, and I love the fact that it is coming out in May, and we'll be enjoying it. We're in rehearsals right now, so please just follow this. Get the link in the description. Follow us. All the people involved everything's gonna be on their pages. Troy Burton's page, my page, Eddie's page, Mama Jackie's page, Arena Players page, and just follow it. We're gonna have some subsequent interviews with other members and a part of this Soulmates series that we are now doing, and this theatrical mixtape genre that is now being rebirthed here in Baltimore with the Troy Burtons of them all. Shout out to Tevin Brown, the musical director. Also, I'm really excited that all of you all involved, and I can't wait to see you all on opening night in your Sunday's best, looking dapper and fine in your threads.
Absolutely.
Any last remarks, Troy, or anybody else on the panel?
Um, I'll just say I'm just happy that all of you on the panel, and as well, there are a couple of cast members who are in the comments as well. Shout out to
Mars,
them.
Coltes.
Oh, I'm so
So,
glad to hear from Mars.
and it's just so I'm just so happy because community theater is special in Baltimore, and I'm just feel like we're losing the spirit of community theater. This is my own personal thoughts. This is not anything endorsed by a theater or anything, but my own
Mhm.
personal thoughts is that we're losing the spirit of community theater. Um, and I just think that it's a way of us coming together to make sure we have a special jewel that's here. Now, community theater has to evolve. We can't operate like we did in the 20th century and the 21st century.
Right.
But at the same time, it is about the people. It is about us creating our work, and it's the
Mhm.
spirit and the coming together of people's spirits in Baltimore and beyond. Because Jackie over there in Phoenix, but she's gonna be here for the opening.
I come
So
home when
Mm.
I get called.
I'm
That's right, Aunt
okay,
Jackie.
but I'm just like
Mhm.
I'm just I have to shout out Catherine Orange of Arena
Yes.
Players, because
Mm.
if it wasn't
Yes.
for Catherine Orange, I wouldn't be directing. She was the person that told me, you go in there and direct these plays, and she gives me the freedom to create what I feel in my spirit. And
Mhm.
when I described this production of Soulmates, she just nodded her head and she said, "Mm-hmm." You know, and that's the spirit that I'm talking about. We can't lose in community theater in Baltimore. So that's very important. That's all I just wanted to say. Shout out to Catherine Orange.
Mama Jackie, Miss Lashelle, Eddie. Any last words?
I'm just going to say I'm excited. I'm always excited about working with Troy
I'm
because
excited.
when I walk away, I
And
learn something. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's always important to me. If I'm in it to learn something and to enhance who I am as an artist, and I do each time in some way, shape, or form. So, thank you, Troy. Thank you, Cass. Thank you for trusting me enough to deliver whatever it is you want me to deliver in this play. Um, and working with Mama Jackie, it's awesome. And my first time working with Mama Laverne, right? Yep.
Mm.
So I'm excited. That's it.
Mama Jackie.
I'm
We're
excited.
really cute.
Go ahead. Either one of y'all go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm gonna defer to you, sis.
Go ahead, Jackie. Go
Um,
ahead.
I am very much inspired to
Okay.
come back home and work with Arena Players because I'm no longer am I looking for acknowledgement or accolades from people who refuse to recognize me. I'm not asking
Mm.
for a seat at somebody else's table. I got my own table.
Mm.
And so I have no problem coming home and sitting at my table and creating
Yes.
work and telling my story, my narrative, my way. And I'm really grateful to have somebody who
Mm.
shares that vision. So thank you.
Mm. Go ahead, Miss Lashelle.
For me, I am excited. I am thankful through photography. And like Eddie, I've learned it. And anytime Mr. Burton needs anything, he calls me, I'm in. What you
Mhm,
need? Where you want me to be?
mhm,
Because I love
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Troy Burton. So I'm glad to
Okay.
be a part of it. I am. I really am. Thank
Thank you all for
you. And
tuning
shout out to
in.
Miss Orange.
Yes.
I see you, Mars.
Tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please share this. Please share it and share it and share it. And hit me up. Send me a message. The link will be in the comment section of all the platforms that we on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Please get your tickets. Do not wait because I'm telling you, they have a lot of tickets already out there. And I think this is going to be a sold out performance. I know it is. So get
Oh,
your
claim
tickets
it.
early. Get your
Claim it.
tickets early. Bring your bus load down and
Oh, no
stop at
doubt.
the Arena Players and come out on the 24th and celebrate with me and with the rest of the cast. And I'm loving this. And thank you all. Thank you to our lovely guests today. And that's a show. That's a show. That's a show, guys, ladies and gents. So peace out, everybody.
Have a good one.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's
Peace
me,
out. And
Nate
thanks for having me.
Couser, owner of the Artist Exchange Media Hub, as well as VashtiBlue Jewelry Studio, sponsoring a night out at the theater with Soulmates, written, directed, and conceived by Troy Burton, as well as musical direction by Mr. Tevin Brown himself. Come on out and celebrate with us. Tickets are now on sale. It's my 41st birthday, and I want to celebrate it with you. Hit me up for tickets. See you there.